Welcome to the Jackson Strength Podcast, a podcast for athletes of all ages striving to be their best as an athlete and in life. I'm your host, Crystal Jackson, former pro beach volleyball player turned lifestyle and strength and conditioning coach. Each week, we will bring you someone inspiring and motivating to support you in discovering what it takes to succeed as an athlete and to become the greatest version of yourself. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Jackson Strength Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, my husband, Curtis Jackson. He is the co-founder and owner of Jackson Strength, along with currently being the fitness expert for Dig Magazine and contributor to About.com's volleyball training page. As an athlete, Curtis played volleyball at what he claims to be the finest institution for higher learning on the planet, Long Beach State. He also played professionally on the country's premier domestic beach volleyball tour, the AVP. Curtis holds certifications from the National Association of Sports Medicine, the Polican International Certification Program, U.S. Weightlifting, the Czech Institute, and has completed the Elite Baseball Mentorship at Cressy Performance. He is also a certified physical preparation specialist under Joe DeFranco and Jim Smitty Smith. He is passionate about learning and credits this for his success in the strength and conditioning field. As an athlete, Curtis dealt with chronic knee pain and 2 knee surgeries. This is the main reason why he was so passionate about keeping the youth athletes healthy and off the surgeon's table. Most importantly, he is happily married to his wife, Crystal, that's me, and is an ecstatic father of 2 young boys named Dylan and Slater and our dog, Saki. Today, we talk about how to manage time as an athlete and in life, as well as Curtis's morning food rituals and how he has changed his thinking based on what his body needs. This and so much more in today's episode. Welcome, everybody. This is the Jackson Strength Podcast, and today I have special guest, my husband, co-owner, co-founder of Jackson Strength, and I'm bringing him on every Friday because there's so much knowledge in that brain, and I really want you guys to hear it. So this is really exciting for me because I love to interview people, and he actually loves to be interviewed. So it's a win-win for the Jackson family. And you might be wondering, why are we in 2 separate places of the house? And we wanted to make sure that we give you guys, the best possible interview, that we're not just staring at each other the whole time. So welcome, Curtis. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So today I really want to talk about time management. As you know, a ton of our athletes come in with, multiple sports or very high academic load, or maybe they're in college. And the number one thing I hear all the time is just, I don't have enough time. And how can we change that? And I feel like that's such a myth. What are your top things that you've been able to help create in your life to have more time management? Because from my perspective as your wife, you manage your time so well.
I think I've been forced to, with the boys and everything. If you don't plan every little aspect of your day when you have kids, you're just really not going to get anything done. So, a big part of time management for me is just making a schedule and planning everything that I do. So whatever is most important to me, I schedule that in. And I schedule that in just like if it's a super important meeting, or for instance, if it was an athlete, they should be kind of looking, if we're talking about workouts and stuff, they should be looking at workouts just like they look at their practices. They're not going to have a practice with their team and then all of a sudden just not show up because they don't feel like it that day. And I think we got to get people thinking along those lines, like, especially athletes, youth athletes nowadays, like, you've got to be lifting, you've got to be working out. The demands are just so intense on their bodies that they've got to be scheduling time to get stronger, but also take care of their bodies as well. So, it's just a matter, when people say I don't have time, that just means they haven't practiced time management at all, really. Or it means that it's not that big of a priority for them, because a lot of people that say I don't have time, they find plenty of time to watch their favorite TV shows. They find plenty of time to be on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. So I think it's just making a plan. And the athletes that we've always had the best success with, as far as getting them in the gym, they've always scheduled it into their day. And when they schedule it into their day, then they plan other stuff around it. So you've got, well, we always tell the families when they come in, it's like you've got, family obligations. Those are super important. You've got homework, you've got religious obligations, maybe you've got all these really important things, but you're training your body. Your body should be up there in those priorities. It's not behind, playing World of Warcraft or, whatever game is like watching every single Harry Potter movie on a Sunday. It's your health is not behind those things. It's up there. You could even make an argument that your health is the number one priority you have, because your health being good translates over to you being a better family member, a better member of your church. You're going to be smarter at tests. It's going to translate over to everything else. So it's definitely something that it needs to take more of a priority, because nobody has time to do everything, and you've got to really make a priority to take care of that stuff.
So, you touched on, it makes you a better person, and I absolutely believe that, time management, and you touched on it a little bit, but if you can dive more into it, you said the number one thing that you do in the day is your most important. So as an athlete, how can they use that same strategy to support them in having better time management?
Well, if you think about it, and like the research is very clear, schools that have a lot of recreation, a lot of PE time, they get the best grades, and they have the happiest kids. I think I was watching a video the other day. I think it was Norway or Finland or somewhere, one of those Northern European countries. Well, their recreation time and their time outdoors is like more than half of their day. And I think it's Finland, and they have one of the number one school systems in the world. And so we get a little bit too bogged down with, we've got to be studying for 6 hours a day. We've got to be in school for 8 hours a day. And I think there's just a big disconnect between what we are told is good for us versus what is really good for us. If we're not nurturing our mind and body, which is what exercise does, exercise done properly does, then we're really doing a disservice, and we're losing balance. We're meant to move. From the beginning of time, our bodies are designed to move. They feel better when they move. Our brains work better when we've done physical activity. We just feel better about ourselves, confidence wise. So when I say that, working out and moving, you could argue that's the number one most important thing to do. I firmly believe that. I say you could make an argument for it, because there's probably people that would argue with me about that. But, when I know that I'm a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better everything, when I am taking care of myself, when I'm getting my sleep, when I'm working out, when I'm eating right, that gives me the best energy. That gives me the best clarity of mind. And I think that a lot of these people that are saying they don't have enough time would just do good just to go crush a 45-minute workout and get back to whatever they were doing, and they'll be more efficient. You're actually more productive when we're more productive when we have more things to do. So scheduling workouts into your day means you're just gonna, take it away. When you schedule workouts, you're usually taking it away from something that's not really benefiting you too much, like watching TV or messing around on social media. So it's not like you decided to work out, and at least anybody with a sane mind, it's not like they're deciding to work out at the expense of spending time with their children. It's not like they're doing that at the expense of spending time with their families or going to church or they skipped out on maybe they're donating their time to the local food shelter or something like that. Typically, when people start to schedule their workouts, something that was not benefiting them is what goes out the window. And I think people really need to understand, you have time. You just got to get rid of some of the fluff that is not serving and insert something that could be the difference in an injury. It could be the difference in a scholarship. It could be the difference in 10 years more of life for an adult athlete. So I think just priorities and understanding all of that is a big step.
Thank you for all of that, Curtis. I just think it's so important for these athletes to hear, and athletes of all ages. I'm not talking just to the youth athletes. I'm talking to our adult athletes or anyone in life, how important time management is. And I say this because I see this man every single day. He's learning like multiple languages at once. He supports me so much with our kids. He runs our business. There's so much that he does, and he's very, very good at time management. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Curtis, and we can support you with the time management as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, we are here of service for you guys. So I want to make sure you guys know that.
Yeah. You guys don't call enough or email enough. I want to help you more. So.
Seriously. So email, call, whatever you want to do, and we will be there for you. But I do want you to talk, Curtis. I would love for you to share with them your morning routine, because I know the most successful people have a morning routine that they stick with that is, very similar to getting their workout in. So what in, your day-to-day, what is your morning routine?
Well, get up at 4, pretty much every single day, unless we have, for whatever reason, like we picked you up from the airport or something at midnight. So I did not wake up at 4 that day. I slept until like 8. But, typically though, to do that, I'm in bed by 8. So that is a big, asterisk on that. I don't suggest anybody start going to bed at 11 or 12 and getting up at 4. You're not going to make it very far. So up at 4, and first thing I do, I'm a big fan of liquid nutrition in the morning. I find that big, solid meals slow me down. So I like protein shakes. So I will use our Athlete Restore. So actually the first thing I have is the Complete Essentials by BSL Nutrition. And I love liquid nutrition because I feel like it's very easily assimilated. And I don't know if it's just that as I've gotten older, but I just don't do as well energy-wise when I have a big breakfast. Doesn't matter how healthy it is. I just kind of want to go to sleep. So the liquid nutrition really is great for me because all liquid nutrition is just much more easy. It's easier to assimilate the nutrients. So the Complete Essentials is basically amino acids. So that's the food for my brain because I like to get all of my computer work, my emails, anything for the gym. I like to get that done nice and early. So I'll have 2 or 3 scoops of the Complete Essentials in 32 ounces of water. That way I get some protein in the form of the aminos. And I get some brain food in the form of the aminos. And I'm also getting 32 ounces of water, which we all wake up dehydrated. So I like to knock out multiple birds with one stone. And I've also learned that coffee is something that gives me really bad skin problems, dry skin, dandruff, and also joint pain. So I do not do coffee except for, maybe once, maybe twice a week. And so I will put a little bit of just caffeine into my aminos, drink 32 ounces, go work. That usually gets rid of my hunger for maybe an hour. I'll get hungry. I'll go back downstairs, go out of the office, and I'll have a little protein shake, which is the Athlete Restore that we use at the gym and we sell at the gym. And that's loaded with the nutrients, anti-inflammatory herbs. I'll put a little bit more caffeine. So when I do caffeine, I do multiple doses, multiple low doses versus high amounts at one time. And I just feel it, and that works out better for me. And so I'll do a protein shake, once again, in 32 ounces of water, a little bit of caffeine. And when I say a little bit, I'm doing about 100 milligrams of the caffeine. And then after that usually keeps me full for about 2 hours. Then the boys start getting up, and then I'll typically make them breakfast, and I'll start to have some breakfast with them, or we'll make a juice, and I might put a little bit more caffeine in there as well. So the little bit of caffeine every few hours gives me a nice even energy and gives me a nice even mood, and I'm never getting too jittery with any crashes or anything like that. But so that's kind of my morning routine. And then eventually I'll get really hungry, and the liquid nutrition just isn't going to do it anymore. And I'll have a nice small meal, usually meat and vegetables cooked up. So broccoli, mushrooms, onions with some meat, or maybe it's just chopped up greens, and I'll throw some meat in there and mix it up, but something small. And as the day goes on, my meals will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know you just kind of asked me about breakfast, but then my biggest meal will actually be at dinner, which kind of flies in the face of what we've learned or what a lot of people think is good nutrition. And that might be good nutrition for some to have their biggest meal in the morning. For me, it puts me to sleep and decreases my motivation. And if there's one thing I can't stand, is having no motivation and low energy. So I do anything I can to stay fired up throughout the day. And then I'll have that nice big meal at night. And on that same kind of line of thinking, if I'm ever going to have a a junk food meal, it's always at night, because I never want to mess with my energy during the day. You will never catch me eating pizza at lunchtime. You'll never catch me having a beer at lunchtime. You'll never catch me doing any of that stuff. My balance comes in the form of junk food at nighttime, when if it does make me tired, just go to bed, wake up, and rock out the next day all over again.
And you are so good at being balanced, of having your sweets, eating whatever, ice cream, chocolate, hot dog at a baseball game. And I really admire that, because that's something I'm still working on, is improving my balance. But thank you for sharing that. And I know, you used to teach that eat like kings in the morning and peasants at night. So what made you do the switch? Or is it just for you? Or are you talking about for everybody? Or is it kind of like a tester back and forth, figuring out what works for each individual person?
Well, for sure, everything's individualized, which is why we are so huge on individualized everything at the gym. There's not one person in the history of Jackson Strength that's ever had the exact same workout. There's not one person in the history of Jackson Strength that's ever had the same nutrition plan. Everything's individualized, because I personally know, having experimented on myself with a million different things, there's lots of ways to skin a cat. So for me, what I just explained works very well. However, I have, as a business owner, a much more flexible schedule. There might be somebody out there that's like, well, F you, I have to eat, and then I don't get to eat in the morning, and then I don't get to eat again because of my work situation or my school situation for another 5 hours. So I'm not up, I can't just do like an amino shake and a protein shake every hour or so like that. So everything is so individualized, which, if there's one bone I would have to pick with our industry, that there's people out there saying that there's a one size fits all approach for anything, right? Like, I run from those people as fast as I can, because I just know they haven't been in the industry that long. If they're doing the same workout program for the same 10 kids or the same 10 adults, or like you get a bunch of different athletes from different sports doing the same workouts, or even in the same sport but different positions doing the same workouts, or somebody that says, oh, you got to be a vegan, that's the best way to health. Or then you have the opposite, like you have to be paleo, carnivore. There's just everyone's got to experiment on themselves, which is nice, because then you can really take the power into your own hands, learn about yourself, versus what a lot of people do is they just kind of jump on the next fad. Like, 10 years ago, saturated fat was horrible. So you might have one person that wasn't touching bacon and butter. And then, now it's 2016, bacon and butter's cool again. I'm putting a cup of butter into my coffee, and I'm having bacon every morning. And it's just this, but you just got to really pay attention to your body. I've been fortunate enough I'm just a experimenter through and through. And so I've just been able to really hone in on what's good for me. And this still changes. Like what I'm telling you today, you might interview me in a month again or 2 months. And I changed it up this way or that way or whatever. It's smaller tweaks now than it used to be, big swings here and there as I was experimenting. I went vegan for a week. I don't know. You remember that? I ate only chicken for like 3 days. I didn't eat for like 3 days to see how that went. So I've really done a lot of things on myself.
It's very true.
Yeah. It's been a fun journey. That's for sure. A long time in the industry. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, babe, for all your knowledge. What is your truth bomb of the day? What's the number one takeaway you want people to get from this episode? I like to call them knowledge bombs, because it's just, what is it? What's the thing that, what is the myth that you get to crush?
I'm really big on sleep right now. I mean, I was interviewed, I think a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of a similar question. And, it's not a sexy answer. It's not a trendy answer. It's just truth. There's a lot of people out there that are complaining about this ailment, that ailment, lack of energy. And then you talk to them and you dig deeper, and they're like getting 5 hours of sleep. They're staying up till midnight watching every single Housewives series there is. Atlanta, New Jersey, Beverly Hills, Orange County, they're watching them all. It's like, well, okay. And then on the flip side, that's more of an adult issue. They stay up watching TV. There's more channels on TV and more good TV shows than there's ever been in the history of mankind. And then on the flip side, you've got these kids that are in high school and even junior high, and sadly, even elementary school, that are staying up late, compromising sleep just to get their homework done. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox with like the school system and how it kind of beats down kids, but you talk to them and the new norm is like 5-6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention a name, but there's a girl in our gym who was like, oh man, I think my mom thinks I'm anemic and I think I might have mono and all this stuff. And, I was just like, asked a few questions. Turns out she's getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night. So I said, look, instead of going to get a bunch of tests and everything, for 2 weeks, I want you to average 8 hours of sleep per night. Luckily, this was one of our hardest working kids, and she did it. So if she got 6 hours one night, she'd turn around and get 10 hours the next to make sure she was averaging her 8 hours a night. And sure enough, she felt fine after that. It was just sleep. It's such like there's a saying in the medical community, if you hear hoof prints, don't think zebra, think horse. And you don't have to make things complicated. And it's the kind of the foundation that everything stems from. So if you get more sleep, you're going to feel more motivated to work out. You're going to be up earlier to make your breakfast. You're going to just be, your brain, it needs repair. You're going to think clearer. You're going to have more compassion, more kindness to other people. You're going to have more patience with other people. And this all stems from learning from myself. I went through the no sleep and even grinding it to where I was going to sleep at 10, getting up at 4 and just repeat every day. And now that I've taken a step back and I'm making sure I get that 8 hours every night, it's way easier to feel good and have a lot of energy, get my workouts in, get all my work done and stay motivated through and through. So sleep is going to be the one that I'd really like to drive home to people. If you're not doing that right now, the people that sleep the most are the leanest too. So, that would be it.
Well, we're going to dive deeper next Friday on sleep. That'll be our topic for the week. So
sure.
Everyone stay tuned till next Friday, where we'll be back again interviewing Curtis and just getting a ton of knowledge and information for you guys. So thank you so much, Curtis, for your time today.
Thanks, babe.
And so we're just call you Curtis. But I do want to, after every episode, I always acknowledge everyone. So I do want to take a moment, even though you are my husband, and I do acknowledge you a lot, but I would like to acknowledge you and just thank you for the man that you are and the stand that you take for athletes and just your vision and dream of creating Jackson Strength and what you've done in the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to find out more information about Jackson Strength, visit our website, jacksonstrength.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Jackson Strength, where you will find interviews as well as tons of exercises we give to our athletes across the world. Be sure to tune back every Monday where I'll be interviewing someone inspiring in the industry as well as pro athletes. And every Wednesday for current and former Jackson Strength athletes, and every Friday I interview my husband, co-founder and owner of Jackson Strength, for his knowledge of the week. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, please email us at office@jacksonstrength.com, and we would love to hear from you.